Football is here. We are submitting starting lineups. We are looking at matchups. Could not be more excited to go through and rank at least 30 wide receivers here for you to help you submit those lineups week one. But before we get into it, go down there, drop a like on this video. And because we've had so much support lately, I'm still going to keep on answering as many comments as I can. At least I'm going to answer 200 comments down there on this video. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Thank you for coming out to the 24-hour live stream yesterday. Now, I'm recording this before the live stream. I don't know how it went. I think based on the wide receivers that we have available to us on the way back around, there are 3 wide receivers I'd be just fine with at this point. So let's go Khalil Herbert, and then what? Did not mean to do that. We just botched that draft. No harm, no foul. We're about to get into another draft regardless. I can tell you right now that I could not be more scared, but regardless, I don't want to waste your time. Let's dive into these week one wide receiver rankings, and let's go into tier 1, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp. Is there anything really to talk about here? You're starting these guys anytime they're playing. I guess we could say that you need to look at the Minnesota Vikings passing offense and figure out exactly what it's going to be like with Kevin O'Connell, if it's going to be as pass happy as advertised this offseason. And then with Cooper Kupp, there's nothing to watch about with Kupp himself. In this passing offense, we definitely want to look at how Allen Robinson is getting used week 1. He's a wide receiver we'll be talking about later on. But let's go over to tier 2. We're going to have Jamar Chase here. Now, if you're looking at our rest of season wide receiver rankings, I think Jamar Chase is a tier 1 wide receiver. Don't love the matchup against Pittsburgh, given the fact that, hell, it's Pittsburgh. They're probably not going to have to throw the ball over and over and over again. I don't think this game's going to be a shootout, so we will have Jamar Chase in tier below, but you start him. Devontae Adams at 4 with Devontae Adams. Really excited to see how he's implemented into this Las Vegas Raiders offense. As I've said, I think there is serious target competition here, but it should be a shootout game against the Los Angeles Chargers where there are a ton of points scored. Then we're going to have CeeDee Lamb at 5. With CeeDee Lamb, I understand this is pretty aggressive. No Gallup week 1. Jalen Tolbert, first game in the NFL. He played at South Alabama last year. And then obviously you have James Washington hitting the IR. With James Washington hitting the IR, just thins out this wide receiver room even more. Should be a very high scoring game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we know with the Buccaneers, they have one of the best run defenses in the NFL, or at least they have had one of the best run defenses in the NFL over the past 2 seasons. So I think that Dallas is probably forced to throw the ball. And then here at 6, we're going to have Stephon Diggs. So Stephon Diggs, usually we're going to have him ranked above this. I know it is probably going to be a very high scoring game against the Los Angeles Rams. They have Ramsey. I understand Ramsey doesn't just play against one wide receiver. I know he's not going to be lining up against Diggs throughout the entire game, but I think it is enough to just be a little more hesitant. Obviously, you're playing him regardless. And then our last wide receiver in this tier is going to be Mike Evans. Now with Mike Evans, I'm going to try to get you all an update with Chris Godwin later this week. And if Godwin plays, I think we're going to move Mike Evans down. Right now, it looks like a 50-50 coin flip with Chris Godwin playing. Almost regardless, you're going to be putting Mike Evans into your starting lineup, though, because he's going up against the Dallas Cowboys. As we already said, I think this is one of the premier games that we need to be targeting for Sunday. And I think that there are a lot of points scored. But now let's go down to tier 3 here, where these are still probably guys you're starting no matter what, where we have Keenan Allen at 8. Now, Keenan Allen going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. We just got done talking about this being a game that's a potential shootout with Keenan Allen, as we've already discussed. He's literally averaged like 10 targets a game over the past 5 years playing with Justin Herbert in a full PPR format. I have no concerns with Keenan. And then at 9, we are going to have Deebo Samuel. I know we're a little bit lower on Deebo Samuel than consensus here, but I don't love the matchup against Chicago. And with Deebo, he's dealing with that bone bruise in the back of his knee where he hasn't been in practice. Now he's going to play. Like, we're not worried about that. But I think it's enough to not put him up in that same tier with guys like CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, where they have great matchups. But I will say, if you're looking at Underdog Fantasy, if you're looking at the player prop for Deebo Samuel this week, I think last I checked, they had him at 89.5 total yards. You'd probably be pretty excited about playing Deebo Samuel there. And of course, if you want to go check out any of the player props on Underdog, or you want to get in a last minute fantasy football best ball draft, we'll still be drafting those on the live stream before the season kicks off and during the season as well. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. When you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. So it's essentially free to check out. And you're going to get our 2022 fantasy football rankings and our 2022 fantasy football draft guide with a $10 deposit. And also they supported the 24-hour live stream. So make sure you go use promo code FLOCK on Underdog, link down below. And then our last wide receiver here, also someone that I actually kind of want to take the under on Underdog Fantasy. We have Tyreek Hill. With Tyreek going up against the New England Patriots, don't love the matchup in general. I think the Patriots try to slow the pace of play down. I think they try to run the ball over and over again. On top of it, pretty solid defense. Now, I will say Jalen Waddle hasn't been in practice over the past few weeks. I mean, with Jalen Waddle not at practice, maybe you can be a little bit more excited about Tyreek Hill week 1. And also on Underdog, last I checked, he had also like a player prop like 79 total yards. I think that he may have that larger role until Jalen Waddle works his way back to being 100% in this offense. Now let's drop it down another tier, and we're going to be very aggressive on Hollywood Brown this week. Now with Hollywood, yes, I'm going to continue to go through and give you updates, but as it looks right now, Rondale Moore may not play this game. Zach Ertz may not play this game. And even if they do, clearly, if they are closing in on being game time decisions, looks like they're not going to be 100%. So you're telling me that we get Hollywood Brown in an offense that could potentially lead the NFL in pace of play, that we know is going to be very pass happy, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, where we know the Chiefs are not going to have an issue putting points on the board. It's not like the Chiefs are going to struggle, and then Arizona can just run the ball in the second half. I think that this is another game very similar to what we have with Buffalo, Los Angeles, with Dallas and Tampa, and now with Kansas City and Arizona. I think these are the highest scoring games of the week. I think that these are very fun games to chase. And with Hollywood Brown, he's in a very similar spot to CeeDee Lamb. He's in one of those offenses, and he doesn't have a lot of target competition right now. And now our next wide receiver is going to be Michael Pittman at 12. Michael Pittman, I mean, the Indianapolis Colts are just going to roll the Houston Texans. I understand everybody's going down there telling me, oh, no, Mason, Houston's going to be fine. Davis Mills is underrated. No, Las Vegas has the Houston Texans as the worst team in the NFL this season. They also have this as the largest spread of the week. So I'm honestly expecting this to be a game where you have Jonathan Taylor just absolutely torching Houston. But at the same time, I mean, you should just see a lot of points up for the Indianapolis Colts regardless. So we will have Michael Pittman down here at 12. And then we're going to have A.J. Brown at 13. With A.J. Brown, a very similar situation. Pretty good matchup against Detroit. I expect that Philly's probably going to be winning the majority of this game. I am a little hesitant to go out there and rank these wide receivers that are changing teams too aggressively. And I know we just got done ranking Hollywood Brown at 11, but I want to see what A.J. Brown's role is in this offense because I still love Devonta Smith, someone we'll talk about later on. I think Dallas Goedert is a very good player as well. Love the talent of A.J. Brown. I'm just very excited to see what we have week 1, and it's a good matchup against Detroit. And then T. Higgins, we're going to have at 14. T. Higgins, for the majority of weeks, I actually think is probably going to be ahead of guys like Michael Pittman, ahead of someone like Hollywood Brown, but I just don't love the matchup here against Pittsburgh. As I already said, I don't see this as a super high-scoring game. I'd be very surprised if we have Pittsburgh coming out and making this a one-score contest. I think that Cincinnati is not going to have to just go balls to the wall, push the pace of play in the second half, try to throw as many pass attempts as they possibly can. I think they can possibly play just game control if you have Mitchell Trubisky turning the ball over early. And then our last wide receiver in this tier is going to be Deontay Johnson. If you're playing in a non-PPR format or a half PPR league, I think you can actually move Deontay Johnson down from here. But in a full PPR format, I mean, the raw amount of targets he should get, it's probably going to be very intriguing, and I do expect Pittsburgh to play from behind the majority of this game. And then going over to our next tier, we're going to have Mike Williams at 16. I know a lot of people are going to probably want Mike Williams higher than this, and I'll admit, it's a pretty good spot. If you expect the Las Vegas Raiders offense to be significantly better with Devontae Adams coming in, if you think that this is going to be one of those games similar to Tampa, Dallas that we just got done talking about, a game with 1 million points scored, sure, you can move Mike Williams up to the top of the tier, even above this. Now, I am a little hesitant to go out here and assume that Mike Williams is going to play the same role that he did through the first 5 weeks last year. Because if we go through and look at the vertical element to Los Angeles, right now it looks like it's Mike Williams. It looks like Mike Williams is going to be that field stretching wide receiver that has a super high ceiling on a week-to-week basis. But at the same time, if Las Vegas decides to keep 2 safeties back, and we end up with Los Angeles just having to go through and check the ball down to Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen over and over and over again, The volume may not be there for Mike Williams in a full PPR league. If you're playing in a non-PPR format or a half PPR, I think you can move him up. And then we're going to have DJ Moore at 17 here. Love DJ Moore. Hate the situation he's in. I mean, going up against Cleveland is not a bad defense. And on top of it, the Cleveland Browns with Jacoby Brissett, the last thing they want to do is go out there and start throwing the ball early and just give the ball over to Carolina. I think they look to play keep away. I think they try to run the ball over and over and over again between the combination of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt behind the elite level offensive line. You have a healthy Christian McCaffrey going into week 1, so I think CMC is going to have a pretty nice target share. I don't expect this to be a high-scoring contest. And Christian McCaffrey's healthy. So I think we can have DJ Moore down here at 17, even if I'm more excited about the player in the long term. And then we're going to have Jalen Waddle at 18. Honestly, I'm probably being reckless here. Like, Jalen Waddle's probably not someone that belongs in this tier. I just love him. I just want to root for him. As we've already discussed, I understand it's a bad situation. I mean, not a great matchup against New England. 2 is your quarterback. You got Tyreek Hill in town. It's a bet on talent. It's a bet on talent. Probably not a good one. And now let's drop it down to our next tier, where we're going to have Brandon Cooks at 19. In reality, all these wide receivers in this tier are about the same. I think you're going to order them in any way that you want. And with Brandon Cooks here at 19, I mean, this is a receiver going up against the Indianapolis Colts, where I expect his team to be trailing the majority of the game, as they should be the majority of this season. However, there's no target competition behind him. Like, if Davis Mills comes out here and throws 250 passing yards, we can pretty much guarantee that Brandon Cooks is coming away with 100 of those yards, unless you are that much of a believer in Nico Collins. And then going over to 20, you have Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, sneaky quarterback upgrade. I understand nobody likes Carson Wentz. Trust me, I get it. But at the same time, with Terry McLaurin, this could possibly be the best quarterback he's ever played with at the NFL level. And on top of this, if we're looking at Jahan Dotson, while I am worried that Dotson does have a large role at the end of the season, at the end of the day, he's a rookie. We're not expecting him to come out, be a wide receiver 1B to Terry McLaurin's wide receiver 1A to start the season. So I think Terry McLaurin does have a very high target share. Logan Thomas probably not going to be good to go week 1, if I'm assuming. So I think you can start him with confidence against Jacksonville. And then Darnell Mooney at 21. With Darnell Mooney, definitely worried about the matchup going up against San Francisco. San Francisco's going to be one of these teams that looks to run the ball as often as they can. I don't think the 49ers want to be going through and saying, okay, yeah, Trey Lance, you know what we want to do? We want to have you throw the ball 40 times. We're trying to get into a shootout here with Chicago. No, they're going to want to control the game. They're going to want to play good defense. They're going to want to run the ball with 15 different running backs, plus Deebo Samuel. So here, I think that it's a low-scoring contest, not many plays in general. Even if Darnell Mooney is getting absolutely everything in Chicago, I don't know exactly how much production there'll be in the first place. Now, going over to our next guy, going to Denver. I think this is going to be one of the games that you really need to be watching this week. We're going to have Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton ranked back-to-back 22, 23. I mean, with Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, obviously, they may be fueling the Russell Wilson revenge game narrative. I think a lot of people are going to want Russ to come out here and just throw the ball 40 times against the Seattle Seahawks. It would be very exciting to see. In reality, I don't necessarily think Denver's going to have to. I think in reality, they're going to be able to go through. They're going to be able to run the ball effectively with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, knowing that there's no way that Seattle comes out here and has a massive performance against Denver's defense. So on paper, I know a lot of people want to say, oh, revenge game. Let's go. Fire up Russell Wilson. Everybody in Denver is going to be great. In reality, I think that this is maybe an underwhelming contest in general from a raw amount of points standpoint, because I think Denver just easily handles this team. And now going down to the last 3 wide receivers in this tier, Allen Robinson, 24. I really am excited to see what Allen Robinson does this week. Obviously, going up against the Buffalo Bills, great defense, but at the same time, they have an offense that is going to do their best to make Matthew Stafford throw the ball 45 times. I think that this can be a shootout game. I think that Allen Robinson is a wide receiver that is now playing with the best quarterback of his entire NFL career. He was one of the worst receivers in the NFL last year. Super wide range of outcomes. I'm very excited to see Allen Robinson this week. And then our next wide receiver in this tier, speaking of very wide ranges of outcomes, we're going to have Gabriel Davis, 25. And if Isaiah McKenzie misses, or Isaiah McKenzie doesn't practice this week and then is a game time decision and actually plays, if Isaiah McKenzie's limited or out, we're moving up Gabriel Davis. He probably belongs at 19, probably to the top of this tier. We'll give that update later on, actually Thursday. You'll be able to figure that out for your own. But I think this is a wide receiver that we've seen have 200 receiving yards in a single game. The same time, it's a wide receiver that was not able to play over 33-year-old Emmanuel Sanders last year. I think it's a very wide range of outcomes. If he gets the Emmanuel Sanders volume added into what he already had in Buffalo, and he maintains the same level of efficiency, dear God, the ceiling's through the roof with Gabriel Davis. And our last wide receiver here, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 26. In reality, I think we can sit here and I think we can argue, Mason, you clown. How could you ever have Allen Robinson? How could you ever have Brandon Cooks in front of Amon-Ra St. Brown? Good point, good argument. In reality, as I said when we went through this tier, the reason I do this as a tier list is I think that you can go through and you can rank these guys any way you want. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown looks like he's in a great spot. Jameson Williams isn't playing anytime soon. Going up against Philadelphia, we'd imagine that Detroit probably has to throw the ball here. So I think you can definitely make the argument Amon-Ra St. Brown should be at the very top of this tier. And maybe if we give you an update video later this week, I can't guarantee one because I don't know how I'm going to be feeling after the 24-hour live stream. We will have Amon-Ra St. Brown higher than this. But now let's drop it down to our next tier where we're going to have Juju SmithSchuster, 27. Juju's another one of these guys. I do want to get very excited about him. I mean, at the end of the day, he's going up against the Arizona Cardinals. We identified this as one of the highest scoring games of the week. He could potentially be the wide receiver 1 for Patrick Mahomes here. I'm going to be wanting to kind of sit this one out. There are a few players that I can get excited about for the long term this season, but because I don't exactly know how the target distribution is going to be here in Kansas City when you have Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, Marquez Valdez-Scantling as all new pieces, all new toys for Patrick Mahomes, I don't want to come out here and say, oh, Juju, great matchup, must start player. I think there's a lot of uncertainty with this. I think Juju does have a lot of upside in this matchup, but at the same time, we don't exactly know what the target distribution is going to be. So if we have someone like a Darnell Mooney, where you know Darnell Mooney's getting 25% of his team's targets, I think you probably go through, you probably play that guy over Juju Smith-Schuster week 1. Look at what happens in Kansas City. Definitely watch this game and then use that as a measure of where we are ranking these guys going forward. And then we're going to have Adam Thielen at 28. With Thielen, I know that a lot of people would have him ranked higher than this as well. I mean, just so many of these wide receivers are exciting. Like I said, I want to see what the Kevin O'Connell offense is like. I want to see if this offense is going to be as pass happy as advertised. I want to see what the Irv Smith Jr. target share is like. I'm excited. I'm just excited for football. And then our next guy, we're going to have DK Metcalf here at 29. With DK Metcalf, I understand he is significantly more talented than pretty much any wide receiver we have listed off in the past 10 minutes. But at the end of the day, Geno Smith is his quarterback, the worst offensive line in the NFL, and this team wants to run the ball. It's a very bad situation. It's another spot where I think there's some uncertainty. We don't know exactly how bad Seattle's going to be. Also, they play on Monday. I think that we go through. I think that we sit this one out on DK Metcalf, look at what this offense is like under Geno Smith, and then use that to determine if we're starting Metcalf going forward. And then our last wide receiver here, very similar to Juju Smith-Schuster. You can make the argument he belongs significantly higher than this. I do think there's a lot of uncertainty, though. We're going to have Allen Lazard at 30. With Allen Lazard, yeah, no Devontae Adams here. I mean, if you think Allen Lazard's going to come in and get 25% of the target share from Aaron Rodgers going up against Minnesota, Allen Lazard's a must-start guy for you. Now, at the same time, I don't necessarily want to say that's a guarantee. I will admit, y'all know I'm not a big Allen Lazard guy because I think there's an outside chance that Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs, the actual wide receiver 1 here in Green Bay, I mean, it's probably the veteran to start the season. So I think you can be more excited about Allen Lazard at the beginning portion of the year than the end of the season. And then some other players that are going to be right outside this list that I think you could consider starting, but I want to listen to the reports that we have going into Sunday. Michael Thomas. Here with Michael Thomas, I mean, he was dealing with a hamstring injury for the past few weeks. Looks like he should be good to go, but at the same time, when he has missed so much time, I mean, we haven't really seen him as a productive wide receiver since 2019. Even if I really like Michael Thomas for the rest of the season with the upside he gives you, with the price you had in your fantasy football draft, I'm still not going to be coming out here rushing to start him week 1. With some of these players, I kind of want to see it before we believe it. And then on top of this, if we go through, look at Chris Godwin, it's going to be very hard for me to rank Chris Godwin when I'm recording this on September 4th. Like I said, September 5th, we are having a 24-hour live stream. I apologize about that. But with Godwin, same thing. Even if it's a great situation against Dallas, even if he is able to start, we don't necessarily want to go plug him in week 1. I'm really excited about the upside that we could have later on in the year. But I think when he's coming off an injury that just happened, we're probably going to want to see it before we believe it. And carrying this over to guys like Rashad Bateman, who's everyone's favorite breakout candidate this upcoming season. A couple things that I'm worried about with this. I think that here with Rashad Bateman, you're looking at him going up against the New York Jets saying, okay, well, Baltimore's probably going to be able to run the ball at will against the Jets. I don't necessarily think they're going to have to throw it if they don't want to. And at the same time, while we all want to sit here and project, okay, Rashad Bateman was a stud at Minnesota. Who cares that he was a bad rookie? He's going to be a stud in the NFL in year 2. Can't hurt to see him actually do it on the field before we decide to start him. And then last on this list, any rookie wide receiver, I do not think that we're going to go through and start him, even if Sky Moore is a great matchup against Arizona, even if Drake London looks like he is a future stud. Guys, it's week 1. We don't have bye weeks. There aren't too many injuries. I think you're going to be fine going through starting these guys in the top 30 of this list and kind of just avoid those major question marks that we have about players that may have high ceilings for later on in the year, but we don't have to rush in to start them week 1 before we actually see the production on the field. But that's all I got for you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope you got something from it. And of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment asking any question. I'm going to answer at least 200 of those. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Thank you again. I appreciate you, and I hope we get to see you with the live stream tonight.